Welcome, security pros, to another Hacker News webinar. And we've got a great one today. Joining us is Dvir Sasson. He's the Director of Security Research from Reco. Dvir, welcome to the Hacker News webinars. It's great to have you here with us today.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited about this one, folks, because obviously, as many of you know, if you tune into all of our webinars, which we have a good group of people that always show up, and we love you and we appreciate you and thank you for making the Hacker News your choice for cybersecurity education. We've talked a lot about AI. Well, today, Dvir is not a sales guy, not a marketing guy, but does security research. One of us, a practitioner at heart. He's going to be sharing how AI is outrunning security and what we can do about it. For those who don't know who Dvir Sasson is, he's the Director of Security Research at Reco, but he's an ex-Varonis and cyber security researcher. He's dynamic and experienced, capable in technical cyber activities and strategic governance. He was endorsed in 2020 by Tech Nation as one of the few global talents that exist in our planet, which is really, really awesome. And he's an experienced solution-driven security and IT professional with proven success in design, development, management of numerous security information systems across financial, defense, telecom, gaming, and retail sectors. Needless to say, I'm excited to have Dvir here this morning with all of us. Dvir, thank you for being here. Comments, questions, put them all there. We'll try to get to some of them. And if we don't get to your questions, they'll be answered via email after the webinar. Floor is all yours, Dvir. Go ahead.
Cool. Let's kick it off. So thank you very much for having me, James. The main topic for today is how your AI is outrunning your security from a SaaS perspective, right? So AI is the buzzword for the past few years, and it's becoming more and more concerning and quite risky from organizational perspective of how end users are using AI in the business. Now, generally speaking, if you want to know more, you can just scan that QR code over here for you to get that SaaS report that Reco provides. So again, my name is Dvir. I'm directing the security research at Reco. Reco is a SaaS vendor, and I'm here to talk about the technical stuff. Not going to bore you with all of the mumbo jumbo, snake oil stuff. I'm here to talk about absolutely technical stuff. So let's take it away. Let's understand what is AI and AI security and shadow AI and all of that jazz. So what is shadow AI? What is it such a big thing? Any ideas, anything that comes to mind? What is shadow apps, shadow AI? So here's a quote by yours truly. So shadow AI is a powerful, unsanctioned AI applications being used by employees without IT approval or oversight. Now, this is quite massive. It's not just like for me to use the organizational ChatGPT or whatever. It's something worse than that. Do you know that moment where you want to use certain applications without going through the IDP of the organization, or just casually registering on a specific site with your credentials, username and password and all that? So that is a shadow account. It's an unmanaged account being used only by you, that not going directly through the IDP, not connected to SSO. And what it truly means, it's unmonitored, unsanctioned. The organization doesn't even know about this account and whatsoever. And the fact is that even after an employee leaves the business, they still maintain active access to this account by just the username and password. So think about it. We've seen cases that any sort of applications that comes to mind, from a productivity perspective, from personal life perspective, matching applications, whatever you can think of, just used day in, day out by users in the business. Why is it so concerning? Why is shadow applications in general so concerning? And why is shadow AI much more concerning? So in that sense, shadow applications, as I just mentioned, are sort of hidden door, the back door that it's being used by an employee. Now, with that said, in some cases, it could also be breached by threat actors. For example, if an employee used the same password over and over again and they don't even care about employing MFA on that specific site or an account, then there might be more chances of the account being attacked as part of an ongoing attack going on by threat actors just to gain access to that specific account. The business won't ever know about it, not even to talk about the sort of data being shared in that specific application. So that's like the framework. That is like, what are we talking about? This is the main stepping stone of shadow applications. With regards to shadow AI, we've seen cases of shadow AI attacking organization, won't call it attacking, but being leveraged in a way that exposes organization to all sorts of risk, even regulatory risk, source code being leaked outside, sensitive data being shared. And in that sense, employees, like they just use shadow applications, started using shadow AI applications just to improve productivity. AI is amazing. AI is being used for the past few years and making our lives easier day in, day out by promoting code development, analysis tools, and whatever. But in that sense, when an employee in your business creates an account and shares sensitive data to a specific site, an application, which should never leave the business, containing either PII or other sensitive information or source code or proprietary stuff, that is, I won't call it a breach, but it's definitely a major concern for organizations that they're not even aware of. In these cases, I just added the headlines for you for us to all know about it, but these are cases that organizations were actually impacted. And other businesses started saying, no AI is allowed in the business at all, like, period. Now, this is sort of a statement that, you know, it won't stick. Users have the way to use the applications and register to different sites and whatever. So I don't agree with that. I will talk about it in the part at the end in the summary. But all in all, once the horses are out of the barn and the data is being shared with a third party, which is the Shadow AI app, that's it. That data is there and it will be used in numerous ways that no one of us could even think of, like training more AI models, or could be traded and whatnot. So Shadow AI applications are being used, and we know it all the time. Now, with regards to how it looks like from known research or public research, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about the figures. I want to see the figures. I want to know exactly what's going on. So with regards to the figures themselves, from a Salesforce research, and like you can read all about it, 28%, around 28% of workers usually use Gen AI. Over half of them do so without employer approval. That's insane. That's like, what's going on? What's going on with the business? What's going on with my internal governance inside the business, right? How can I enforce anything about it? Around 38% of employees admit sharing sensitive work info with AI tools without permission. That is like the worst thing ever. 1 out of 5 companies had sensitive data leaked via employee usage of Gen AI. It's insane. 69 and around 69 to 70% of employees have no training or guidance on safe AI usage. How do I know what can I share and what can't I share? Which prompts are allowed? What is like allowed in the business with applications? I'm confused, right? So it's an ongoing circle. It's an ongoing process, and these are the public figures that I could find from this research. However, I can show you mine, and I can show you my personal states. And these personal states are not so common, and I did quite a research based on everything that I've seen as a researcher and based on information that I got. And let's talk about the not so public states. The not so public states, and without talking about the total number of users or businesses or whatever, I'm just talking about percentage, are quite interesting with regards to the vendors or applications being used. So from top AI applications by instances, when I talk about instance, it could be my account specifically, that is a single instance that could be seen in the business, or could be part of a group of accounts being used in the business. For example, if one of the DevOps guys is using their credit card and invites me, and it's still disconnected from the business, we are still a group. That's still an instance. So when we talk about, from what we've seen as a security vendor in the wild, so Anthropic is leading the most when it comes to the sheer total percentage by instances in organizations. Anthropic leads the way. We also have a high number of OpenAI and something called Otter AI. Have you heard about that, James?
I have. I've heard of Otter AI as a nice little note taker that you stick into your Zoom meetings and whatnot and takes notes. Popular.
Yes, it's part of, like, it's being used to as part of the business, part of business development and business and sales and whatnot.
Well, it's
So
for
Otter
everything. I
AI,
mean, I've used it to take notes on calls where I want to be really fully plugged in, um, and I don't want to have to pull out my notebook because I'm old school and I see people commenting. But people know what Otter AI. I mean, it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's beyond business development. I think it's for everyone.
awesome. So you have your notes being saved on an application which is potentially unsanctioned by the business.
I
Interesting.
sanctioned it. I just want to say, as CISO, I sanctioned it. Right.
So yeah,
On the enterprise version, you have a bit more security control.
cool. So that's quite interesting. These are the shadow AI applications that were in fact not connected to the SSO, not part of the enterprise version. And when it comes to the sheer total volume of users by percentage, we can see that we have a much higher user count by OpenAI users, by people that use ChatGPT, and still Otter AI is the second one. Very interesting. Afterwards, we have different applications called CreativeX and Gamma, and of course, Perplexity and Blip. We have a whole bunch of different and weird and wonderful applications being used for productivity and to make our lives easier. This is quite interesting. When we go and dig deeper and say, what else can I tell about these applications? When have I seen these applications for the first time? When did I see them for the last time? How many users were using them in that specific time period? And in general, what is the time that users were actually using these applications? That is quite interesting because OpenAI dominates in terms of user count with high number of users using for a very long time, with very long median usage, around 120 days, something like that. It's both popular and it's sticky. Now, it's also for Blip. When it comes to CreativeX, it's a high duration and low variability with medium user base, and people use these applications, specifically CreativeX and System, for around 1 year. Maybe it could indicate a longer implementation process or a longer onboarding process. I don't know, but this is from what we've seen. When it comes to the user-based distribution, this is where it gets quite fascinating. So we have a very weird graph over here. We have this graph that talks about the user-based distribution. Now, generally speaking, we can see that we have a much higher number of applications being used by lower number of users. For example, it could be around 1 to 2 or 5 different users that use a very high number of applications and application instances. And as soon as we start talking about the dozens and more, we can see that the number of total applications is lowered dramatically. So it basically tells us one thing, that we have a lot of different instances by specific single employees that use these applications day in, day out by the tons. When it comes to groups being used, using these sort of applications as a group, as a single instance, the numbers are quite low. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see that in this distribution. Do you have a question, James?
No, I'm actually reading some of the comments here, but everything you're saying is really resonating with a lot of our audience. So I'll let you go ahead and continue. I know we're about 15 minutes in here. Go ahead.
Cool. So what about different dangerous applications? So dangerous applications is something that we've also been monitoring. What makes an application dangerous? So by checking what sorts of controls, like you just mentioned, James, what sorts of controls are available within the platform, are available in terms of admin audit log, and when was the last pen test that they had, or what security headers do they have in this application. We're able to give a specific score to a certain application and tell how dangerous it is. Now, when I was looking at the top 10 most dangerous applications, we can see that we have Copy AI and Happy Talk. These are the applications that are considered, according to my research, as the most dangerous applications that we've seen in the wild. So when it comes to specific Happy Talk, that's a South Korean application for 24 hours unmanned manned customer consultancy. And for Copy AI, that's a go-to-market AI application. And think about it, sales representatives are using these applications without our sanction, without going in the business, without not connected and whatnot, sharing sensitive information, prospects, numbers, whichever. This is quite massive. So what's so dangerous about it? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to kind of resonate here because a lot of our audience are this is really kind of resonating with them in terms of people going in and using. I mean, we've heard of shadow IT, so hearing shadow AI is the same thing. With shadow IT, you kind of had network controls. I know you're going to get into controls here in a little bit, but uh, one tip I would say is this is where relationships come into play, right? Where your relationships within the business as a security professional help you identify these before you're able to, before you run a scan and then find them. Um, and also, reprimanding people doesn't always work in security. Just can put that out there. You may
Absolutely.
want to consider a different form of action, um, a form of action that's more. Tell me a little bit about what's the use case you're using this for. Help me identify it. Let's go and build a use case so that we can actually sanction it and make sure your productivity isn't impacted. But just some practicality for some of our comment users here on the webinar. Dvir, go ahead.
Cool. So what's so dangerous about it? Let's talk about it. So the what's so dangerous about it is that untrained personnel, like we just seen in the research, like we just seen in these beautiful graphs, untrained personnel shares proprietary sensitive information with an unknown entity. We don't know how it's going to be used, period. That's it, game over. This includes proprietary code, customer data, financials, everything goes that to systems like ChatGPT or others. The company doesn't have any visibility on what's being shared. Once these applications are out there and they are not connected to SSO, there are zero controls basically when it comes to data monitoring or user activity monitoring or even access monitoring. So like I just mentioned, it's there. It could be used, it could be logged in, it could be shared. Now, these instances are unknown to the business from monitoring perspective, like you just mentioned, James, and IAM and data control. That's it. That's so dangerous about it. It's insane. Now, we know of AI assistants, chatbots, automation tools. It just pops out of everywhere. And with everything going on with MCP, I'm sure you all heard about it. MCP is going crazy right now. It's like mushrooms after the rain. There's an MCP server for every type of application. Now, MCP is a protocol that allows to connect a specific AI application, which is being used to chat about, to a specific different application and perform activities on your behalf. It could be connected to your browser, to your WhatsApp application, even to reverse engineer artifacts like in IDA Pro. So, and it could be used in Claude and ChatGPT. So MCP is quite crazy right now. For the past month, it has been blooming. And in that sense, when you have an instance, a shadow AI instance that is connected to your business, connected to an internal application within the business that will perform actions on your behalf, I think that is the worst case scenario in terms of data leak or activities being used by employees. Now, when we talk about again, the what and regulatory risks. And I just slapped over here the logos. These products and companies are awesome. Just for us to know, we have Tencent and we have Quen and we have DeepSeek. These are, to be honest, quite secure from our research. They had quite a high score of security in that sense, 90 above. So hilarious. But in that sense, when we talk about specific contenders like Chinese AI models and products, there was a lot of talk about logs being sent back to China or what could be used in that data being shared. We don't want to go there. We don't know what is the regulatory risk involved. We don't know what is being done with the data. We don't know how the product could be used against us, and we just need to stay out of it. Now, certain AI products don't have guardrails. Now, guardrails is a term from bowling, when you throw the ball and it just bounces from one side to another. Guardrails in AI prevents misusage and attacks over the agent itself, the LLM agent, and from taking actions and leaking sensitive information. In that sense, we have bonus points about potential attacks. I'm just gonna talk on the most basic stuff ever, but do you remember that feeling that you asked something from the AI agent and they said, I can't do it. Oh no, it's not allowed. And then you said, maybe I'll try to change my tone or prompt. So AI injection is that sort of way of telling the AI what to do and making them do that. So emotional appeal. My grandma died and she always told me stories about how to make Molotov cocktails, for example. Once you say that, there could be some different answers. And in guardrails, the AI agent will review the prompt and will understand exactly if you're trying to pull something nasty. Yelling and typing in caps lock, again, that is another thing that works. And for example, if you could point that AI agent, that chatbot, to a different site, to a different malicious URL, and just make it pull sensitive data or malicious stuff, that could also be used to compromise the AI model. And sometimes character escaping, like we've seen over here, could work in order to make the AI agent perform and get the response that you want on how to, for example, build a bomb over here or whatever. So the nicher the tool, the higher the risk. As long as the tool is unmaintained and it's not being implemented correctly due to infra issues or other ideas or lack of guardrails, it could be used specifically in shadow AI to further take action against your data. Now, as part of that risk, there is sensitive information disclosure. That's the result of a prompt injection. When an attacker goes and attacks an AI agent or an AI model, they would be able, in some cases, as again, initial tools, to pull sensitive data that was shared with the model. That's it. Case done. So let's break it down for a second. And again, it's much bigger of a problem. It's much bigger in that sense. Shadow AI is part of much larger problem, which is shadow SaaS, as we just discussed. How can you protect something that you don't own, maintain, or aware of? And how does it all looks like from our perspective, from a practitioner's perspective? So in that sense, I'm just going to give you a glimpse to our UI over here. And Reco allows to perform application discovery and tell you exactly if you have shadow applications or not, and how many, and which users use that. What is the risk score, when it was last seen, first seen, and whatever, and whether it's sanctioned or unsanctioned. And digging deeper into that, we can see that Otter AI is being used, for example, in this instance, which is the demo instance for my company, and it's unsanctioned. And we have users over here that use, I won't call it shadow AI, but shadow account, but we do have social, forget the word for that. Social login, yes, that's the one, by these 4 accounts. Now, they use app credentials and social login in that sense. And we can also see the security info of why it was classified in that way. Why did Otter AI was classified in that sort of way? And we can see that we lack IP restriction, data audit logs, admin activity logs, and data classification, pen test, whatever. These issues can lower the security score of this application. And for example, could be used in order to calculate whether this application is in fact sanctioned or unsanctioned or risky in my business or whatever. This is important. For you to know if you could implement a certain application, you should check exactly everything about it. When we check, for example, when we say we want to know if an employee in my business started using an unauthorized application, we can hit it. We can have an alert about it as soon as we find out anything about it. When someone registers to a certain application, when they have this sort of account being used, we will find it and we will alert it as soon as it happens. In that way, that's how the alert looks like. We have a couple of users that use a specific application unsanctioned in our demo environment. We can see the dates. We can see how it was logged into. We can see exactly what's wrong about it. We can see that, by the way, it's Otter AI, so it's unsanctioned and it was used to log in and register. Also the scopes, by the way, the scopes of the account being used. So how can we fix it? How can we fix what's so broken about it? So when it comes to corrective actions, I think we have a couple of steps over here. We have corrective, we have supplementing, we have preventive and detective. So mapping and taking effective action against shadow SaaS applications is a must. By monitoring, mapping, understanding exactly who's using it, why they're using it, again, not giving them a slap on the nose, but understanding their needs, we can formulate a plan to either decommission or onboard it. And of course, the employee shouldn't be, getting a slap. When we talk about supplementing, we can say that, interesting. We have this use case. That use case is absolutely viable. Let's use a different application that we own, that we approve, and we can make it work. We don't need that specific shadow AI and decommission it. We can have monitored and control tools. We have visibility. We know what to do in order to make sure it will work in the business. AI is here to stay. Again, this is a sort of technology that we are currently living in a revolutionary area, as far as I believe, and it's quite amazing. We need to adopt AI and not just say, no, it's not going to happen. Educating employees on what they can do, what data could be shared, what are the sanctioned applications or data being shared is a must. Employees need to understand exactly what can be done with AI. What are the dangers of AI when it comes to their misbehaving or missharing sensitive data. When it comes to preventative and detective controls, well, as soon as the application is onboarded and it was approved by the business, we can understand exactly what can be done about it, what could be added in the sort of way to alert us as soon as something bad happens, if an account is being breached or sensitive data is being shared, or what did some of my admins did last night at midnight, adding more accounts or changing settings. In addition to that, browser policies are also something nice to have. If you have a managed browser, such as Chrome Enterprise or anything else, it could be applied with certain policies to prevent certain actions to take place. For example, if someone is browsing and working on my production infra and is attempting to copy paste sensitive info from the infra to the chatbot, it will be blocked. By monitoring the URLs, by monitoring exactly what could be done about it, we could have a specific plan of actions and steps to be taken. That is all.
Look, Dvir, you're a superstar. We're at 28 minutes, man.
I know, right?
Absolute superstar. All right, so we got time for maybe one more question before people have to drop here. So let's take one question around this of your security, because there's a bunch of questions here from the audience, but I'm gonna kind of combine a few different questions here into one, right?
Sure.
In all of your security research, looking at shadow AI, what's one thing that's really been mind blowing for you in terms of just the complexity of adopting shadow AI? Shadow AI, yeah.
So I think when it comes to mind blowing is the fact that the sheer number of applications being used by the lowest numbers of users, I mean, the sheer volume of applications is astonishing. You can see that there could be chatbots and different applications for any sort of use case or activity. It's crazy. It's not just for coding or using, for example, cursor for vibe coding. It's about performing every step of your job role day in, day out, even if it's related to BI or data analysis or anything else. I think this is quite fascinating to see how what is the total number, how many applications reside within each business compared to how many users actually use these applications in total.
Yeah, I agree with the scale. I think to a lot of our audience members, the scale of shadow IT was much smaller, was much more limited.
True,
SaaS
true,
expanded
because
it.
exactly,
Go ahead.
because you have controls. You know exactly what's going on in every station. You know what's being installed. You know to which site users are browsing to. In SaaS, since we don't have any sort of visibility, you only rely on whether do you see any sort of actions with the account or the organizational email within the business. And by that, you are able to deduct what's actually happening. In SaaS, again, it's very hard to maintain control of something that you don't own, of something that you never developed and you pay for. Now, in that way, we are solving the SaaS problem by allowing to connect to your organizational applications and maintain control, to have these defenses and to see exactly what's going on, to have this visibility. All of a sudden, we have prospects and customers saying, wow, we never knew that. We never knew this sort of application is being used in my business. And it's unsanctioned. We never thought about it. This is quite a feedback that we got.
Yeah, I'll tell you from a CISO perspective, I never had a no policy for AI, right? So to answer some of the questions here, when people say no, you say no, they're going to find another way to do it. You have to say
Exactly.
yes, and then you've got to. What we did is we created a form, right? Said if you want to use an AI app, fill out this form, right? Give us a day. Let us review it. Let us set the guidelines. Let us identify alternatives. So if we were going to answer you and say, look, we understand why you want to use this app. However, from our research, we deem this app to be owned by a company we may not want to have our data, or the way they manage their AI is very vague. We don't really understand the risks. Then our team was in charge of offering alternatives to the user that we could sign off on. And that's part of a security job in an organization. Beyond using tools like Reco, right? Beyond bringing in additional tools, you have to be able to offer alternatives to people within your organization. Because if you're going to use Reco to identify all of your shadow AI, you can't shut it down without offering an alternative, because then you're impacting productivity. And by the way, you're creating the type of hostility towards security you definitely don't want in your
Exactly.
org, right? So you do have to come with a sanction list of, if you're going to use Otter AI, we have an enterprise Otter AI account that we have good security controls on, that IT is managing, that the help desk is supporting, that's managed correctly, that's run effectively. That's something to do. You could do that, going to Otter AI because you gave it as an example, right? Um, but there's dozens of others examples to that. Um, Dvir,
I
I want to
agree.
say thank
I
you.
think
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you say your
no,
final words.
I think security should be part of, like just mentioned, of coming up with solutions rather than just playing whack-a-mole and just like saying no to anything. Thank you.
Right. Right, absolutely. You can. And by the way, I think, let me go to the opening slide here. There is a QR code that y'all can take for the demo. So scan that QR code now, and get your get your demo from Reco, and get Shadow AI under control. Companies like Reco help support the Hacker News webinar series. So thank you to Dvir, Kate, and team. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to be part of this. Any additional topics you want to hear from the Hacker News, anything at all, we want to hear from you. Go to thehackernews.com/webinars. This webinar will be available on demand after the fact. So just because you couldn't make it today, or a friend of yours couldn't make it today, but you feel like it's really advantageous, send them the link, have them sign up. You can still watch it on demand after the fact. They won't get our fun interaction with all of you, but they'll still get the gist of all the really important information Dvir shared in this webinar. Again, thehackernews.com/webinar. Until then, security pros, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Reco. Thank you to all of you. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.